And I do believe when people say, I just don't know how he or she will react. If I actually say, I'm not sure that we should still be together, or even I think we need counseling. Like, some people are afraid to even bring that to the table because they don't want to hurt the other person's feelings. Okay. I'm not saying that's not true, because when we care for someone at all, we do care about their feelings, and we don't want to be the person to hurt. But how often is that reason our excuse that we hide behind to protect ourselves from having this really uncomfortable conversation, right? Really uncomfortable to go to your spouse, partner, take a deep breath, and say, I don't think we're doing so good. I find that I'm really mad at you a lot, and I think our money situation's a complete mess. I don't feel like you're really trying. We're both kind of dialing it in, and I don't think we're going to make it if we don't get some outside help. Like, I really think we should go see someone. You would think you were asking someone to swallow glass. It's just to get the uncomfortable conversation going is so difficult for most of us. I think I actually remember being kind of numb with fear and trepidation and all those things when I had to verbalize to my husband, my then husband, I don't think we should be married anymore. That's how it came out of me. It was awkward and kind of sad, but I finally said it. I know the feeling. I absolutely understand what it's about. But man, once the words are out, the dam is open, and then universe, God, source, whatever you believe, then you give it room to help you, to help shift more. If we don't do the initial move, if we don't put it out there, I want change, I want what's good for everybody involved, we're not allowing for, universal powers, energies, God, to come in and help. I mean, for us to just sit in our misery when we're perfectly capable of addressing it, of at least starting the ball rolling and making our honest intentions known, why do we think we're owed a miracle? Why, when we're not helpless, we need to show that we mean it and put some energy out there. It's an energy-driven world, and when we make a move, it makes a move. I've experienced it. It is true. When those words left my mouth, I could feel the shift. And my ex just looked at me like, oh my God, who are you? But then he was able to move forward from there. I mean, does that make sense? If I don't voice what I have to say, what is he supposed to do? He was just going to keep circling around me, wondering what in the world was wrong with me. And we would have just stayed in that weird stasis. And that is how so many relationships stand. They stand. They're just in this strange freeze because nobody wants to say the uncomfortable, difficult thing. But boy, once it's said, again, the shift can happen from there because that block is gone. And there's no telling where that's going to go, but at least it's going to go. So that's a big one with relationships. But, go to something like work. And we make up big elaborate stories, like I said, about, I can't go anywhere and they need me. And have you noticed how many of us make ourselves indispensable at a job when we're afraid to leave? I've been there. And social work, it really fosters this. Like, everything was going to collapse if I left this job that was making me crazy and exhausted and sad. But I stayed too long, like a lot of people do in a lot of fields. And I had this story going about how much I was needed, and what about my client list, and what would happen to all those people. And I was just scared because I just didn't know what would be on the other side of that voicing of those feelings. And then you get this thing in your head about, well, my boss will hate me, and she always tells me how much, she counts on me and needs me, or he's always, praising me and giving me the good projects. I mean, I can't do that to that. I have to stay to show how loyal I am. And then you go, and you tell this boss, this is where I'm at. I think I'm done with this job. I've given it my all, and when I get up in the morning, I kind of have to talk myself into it. I think odds are pretty low that any boss who you'd want to work for would say to you, well, suck it up and pretend you like it. I want you to come to the office pretending you want to be here. That's absolutely my favorite kind of employee. It doesn't happen. Unless that boss has serious issues of their own, they're going to say, then you should probably move on, because I want people on my team who want to be here. And here's the crux of it. When we don't step up and say our piece, we are letting everybody down. Not just ourselves, not just the one other person, but everyone, because everyone is affected, right, by the choices we make. It was so interesting to me when my ex and I, we shared that we were getting a divorce. Wow. The people who came forward to us respectively and shared really personal stuff about how they'd been thinking about that, and they'd been in counseling a while, but it wasn't going so good, and they just didn't know what was going to happen, and so they were watching us to see how we would behave. Other couples, it kind of drove them into counseling, which was awesome. They're like, well, we don't want to end up like them. We should go. And I thought, how awesome. Like by doing the integrity-based thing, the honest thing, it's affecting other people to behave in a different way. We're all about, do you lecture your kids about that they need to be a good example and that they should only follow good examples? Well, grown-ups are examples for one another as well. We model behavior for each other just as much as we model behavior for kids. And we don't want to think about that, right? Because we prefer kind of staying behind our stories and acting like we don't know better because it's just more comfortable. But it really struck me when we were going through that divorce, how many people took their cue from us in one way or another. And that's not to say that we didn't have people who just flat out disappeared, like they checked out. And then later when everything was finalized, they kind of chose one or the other of us who they were gonna, stay friends with, and that's fine. That's unavoidable. And it's just part of the fallout. But I loved that we were able to sort of nudge some other people into some truth of their own. What we do and how we behave and how much integrity we exhibit in our daily lives matters. And it has a ripple effect. Another gift of COVID. There is never again going to be a way for us to really sell to ourselves or each other that we don't affect each other, that we're not connected. That's a big thing with me as well, and you would see that on my business card and my website. It's connectivity, being connected, that we are all connected. And it's not in this woo-woo way of love and light and everything's... No, it's a very real, energetic phenomenon. Just look how quickly fear spreads. Right? Did we not just watch that? How one little group of people who feed the terror, who feed the bias, or feed the fear and the bitterness and anger, the rage, whatever, it may be just a group of 10 people. And before you know it, you had half a city on board. It was stunning, even to me, who is such a believer of the power of energy and how we're connected, to watch that groundswell of powerful energy and really negative, right? But then we saw the positive side of that. When you had, protesters, activists on the side of, hey man, can we all just sort of love each other for a minute and just march and not touch anybody's property and not burn anything down and not pull a gun? Can we just do that? And people would actually kind of show up sometimes to start something, and then they would calm down. There was a lot of testimonies about, this one guy came and he kind of wanted to start something, and we all just went, nope, not today. And that person either left or joined. We're so powerful. One of the great gifts of when you step into your authenticity, like your true you, and you look at, right, all the stuff that is kind of formed you up to now, and that facade that you had to create to survive. You know, when you shed that, so much power. And people will feel your realness. They will feel your authenticity, and they will come to you, and they will feel safer with you. I've watched this. I've felt this. I have been on the receiving end of that, and I have been on the giving end, where I just know that I'm bringing people in because they trust me, and they know that I might say a hard truth, but I say it in complete love and in genuine compassion and a desire for them to have a better, more honest existence in this lifetime.